There's often been times in my career where I might have been the only woman in the room, either with clients or internally. Thankfully, this is happening less and less as I move through my career, but when I speak to more junior colleagues, they still say this is sometimes a challenge for them. So in this video, I'm going to give you some quick tips that you can use if you are in a room and someone assumes that your male colleague is more senior to you just because they're a man. On some occasions, I've been completely oblivious to the fact that a client has directed questioning towards a male colleague of mine, and it's only afterwards when it's been pointed out to me. I used to work with one client who was particularly old school and would always assume that my male colleague who came with me to meetings was in fact my boss. Over time, it got a bit farcical that he just couldn't seem to wrap his head around the idea that I was the boss. Here are 9 things which might help you if you find yourself in this situation. The first thing you can do is explain roles. This is sometimes useful if you've got a brand new client or there's been a change in personnel on the team. So what I often say is, I'm the partner and my job's to oversee. This is Craig and his job is to do the day-to-day. This allows you to explain the difference in your roles and ultimately who's more senior. The next thing you can do is use humour to diffuse the situation. Stay away from any gender references, but I often say something like, I know I don't look old enough to be his boss, or they just get younger and younger. A comment like that can help you acknowledge the situation, but move on from it. Another tip is to display your knowledge. So if you're talking to a client about a specific matter, by explaining the knowledge you have in the area or giving some examples, that allows you just to establish your credibility in the room and make sure that you are seen as the senior person. Similar to the point before, sometimes I use stats or knowledge to back up my experience. So I may explain to the client about how I have experience of doing the same type of project elsewhere, or where I've encountered the same problem that they're having at another client. That allows them to understand my experience in an area and ultimately help to establish my seniority. The next thing you can do is actively delegate tasks within the meeting to your more junior colleagues. This allows the client to understand that you are in fact the one allocating work and tasks within your team. This shows that you are the boss and that people are listening to what you have to say. And finally, you can take control of closing the meeting and using a summing up sentence to show that you are in fact in control of the discussion and the dialogue and ultimately are bringing it to a close. You can say something like, thanks for your meeting, that was really productive. I'm going to take it back and discuss it with the team and we'll come back to you with a solution. It shows again that you're in charge and that you're directing the actions. So those are the things you can do if you're in the room. Outside of the room, there are also a couple of things that you can do to help establish that relationship. You can send a follow-up email after the meeting, which often will have your job title in your description anyway, but also allows you to set out the things that you're going to do, how you've delegated tasks, and the next steps. Allows the client to understand that you're driving the project and are in charge. If it happens more regularly, or if it's in a, say, internal meeting, perhaps seek an ally before you go to the next meeting with that client, just to allow them to interject. I've done this before where male colleagues have spoken up when they say, actually, Liz is the boss, which has helped them to understand that. Lastly, if it's an ongoing issue or something that's happening all the time, perhaps you can speak to the individual outside of the meeting just to make it clear what your role is and how their perceptions are making you feel. They may not be aware of what they're doing, and it may be a way of just tackling it head on and calling it out. Leave a comment below if this has ever happened to you. I'd love to hear about your experiences. Please like and subscribe and share this content with whoever you think might benefit from it. I'm Liz, and on my channel I give you the tips, tricks and hacks to help you navigate your career